Commander Zethkar had witnessed the fall of 1,000 worlds. He had seen species that could crush stone with their bare hands crumble before his fleet. He had watched civilizations that had mastered time itself bow to his superior might. In his 800 years of conquest, no species had ever surprised him, until he intercepted a human transmission from a planet that shouldn't exist. The signal came from Kepler 442c, a world so hostile that even his own battle-hardened Vorthak warriors called it the graveyard of gods. Temperatures that could melt steel, gravity that could crush most species flat, storms that raged with the fury of dying stars, and predators that made his nightmares look tame. It was a world his empire used as a testing ground for their most brutal military experiments, a place where they sent prisoners who had committed unforgivable crimes. No intelligent life could survive there. It was impossible. Yet there it was, a child's laughter echoing through the void, followed by what sounded like a game being played. Human children, not just surviving, but thriving on a world that had claimed the lives of his strongest warriors. Zethkar's 3 hearts stopped beating for a moment as he realized the terrifying truth. If human children could turn a Deathworld into a playground, what could their adults do to his empire? The galaxy was about to learn why humanity wasn't just another species to conquer. They were evolution's deadliest miracle, wrapped in deceptively fragile skin. The command bridge of the Vorthak dreadnought Eternal Dominion hummed with the familiar sounds of conquest. Admiral Zethkar stood before the massive viewing screen, his 4 arms clasped behind his back as he watched another world burn. The third planet of the Zirian system was nothing more than glowing debris now, its population of crystal-based life forms reduced to sparkling dust among the stars. Another species that thought themselves mighty, Zethkar rumbled, his voice carrying the weight of 8 centuries of warfare. His communications officer, a young Vorthak named Krell-Tun, approached with visible nervousness. "Admiral, we've received new intelligence from High Command. There's a species they want us to evaluate for potential conquest. They call themselves humans. Zitkars Mandibles klikt in amusement. Humans. What makes them worthy of our attention?" Krell-Tun activated his datapad, projecting a holographic display above the bridge. The image showed a blue and green world, peaceful and serene. They originate from a planet called Earth in the Sol system. Initial scans suggest they're a young species, barely having achieved interstellar travel. Their physiology appears remarkably fragile. The hologram shifted to show human anatomy. Zethkar studied the bipedal creatures with growing disdain. They had only 2 arms, stood on just 2 legs, possessed no natural armor, claws, or fangs. Their bones looked brittle, their skin thin and defenseless. Most amusing of all, they seem to require a very specific atmospheric composition and temperature range to survive. These soft things are considered a potential threat. Zethkar's laughter boomed across the bridge, causing several crew members to look up from their stations. "Look at them, Krell-Tun. They're barely more than walking meat. I've seen stronger creatures in my food dispensers." "Sir, there are some unusual reports from our advanced scouts," Krell-Tun continued hesitantly. "They mention that humans have been expanding rapidly despite their apparent weaknesses. They've also been observed in environments that should be lethal to them." Zethkar waved a dismissive hand, probably using technology as a crutch. "Strip away their machines, and they'd crumble like dust. What's our closest asset to their space?" "The prison world Kepler, 442c, sir. We maintain a monitoring station there." "Ah yes, the graveyard of gods." Zethkar's expression grew thoughtful. "That cursed rock has claimed more of our warriors than any battle. Even our most elite soldiers last mere hours on its surface. The gravity alone would crush these humans instantly. Have our monitors detected any human activity in that sector?" Krell-Tun checked his readings. "Actually, sir, there have been some unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface over the past few months. Nothing definitive, but an urgent beeping interrupted their conversation. The communications officer, a 6-armed Zephyrian named Vexera, called out from her station. "Admiral, I'm picking up an unidentified transmission from the Kepler system. The signal is strange, sir. Define strange, Zethkar commanded, moving toward the communications array. It's coming from the surface of 442C itself, but that's impossible. The signal is weak but consistent, and it's not in any military frequency. In fact, sir, it almost sounds like... She paused, her antennae twitching in confusion. Like what? Zitkar demanded. Like children playing, sir. The bridge fell silent, except for the low hum of the ship's engines. Zethkar's 3 hearts seemed to skip a beat. Children? On the graveyard of gods? Are you certain? Vexera's hands danced across her console, filtering and enhancing the signal. Suddenly, the bridge speakers crackled to life with a sound that sent chills through every warrior present. Laughter. High-pitched, joyful, unmistakably young laughter. Then came voices speaking in what the translation matrix identified as a human language. Come on, Sarah. The acid rain stopped. Let's go hunt some of those big lizard things by the lava lake. Wait for me. I want to get one of their teeth for my collection. Last one to catch a fire salamander has to clean the shelter. The sound of running footsteps faded as the children moved away from whatever device was transmitting the signal. Zethkar stood frozen, his mind struggling to process what he'd just heard. Acid rain, lava lakes, fire salamanders. These were the environmental hazards that had killed thousands of his trained warriors, and these human children spoke of them like playground equipment. Sir, Kreltun's voice seemed to come from very far away. Your orders? For the first time in 8 centuries, Admiral Zethkar had no immediate response. He stared at the communication console as if it held the secrets of the universe. Run a full environmental analysis of Kepler 442C, he finally commanded, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. I want to know current conditions on every square kilometer of that planet. Sir, we already have complete data. Current surface temperature, 847 degrees Celsius in the cooler regions. Atmospheric pressure, 4.2 times Vortex standard. Gravity, 2.8 times standard. Atmospheric composition, sulfuric acid vapors, methane storms, and volcanic ash clouds that block 90% of sunlight. Current active hazards include acid precipitation, pyroclastic flows, seismic activity measuring 8.2 on the enough. Zethkar held up a hand. Each specification Kreltun listed was a death sentence for most known species. The Vorthak themselves, among the most physically resilient races in the galaxy, required full environmental suits and could only survive on 442C's surface for a maximum of 6 hours before their enhanced physiology began to fail. Yet human children were playing there. Vexera, continue monitoring all communications from that planet. I want every transmission recorded and analyzed. Kreltun, contact High Command. Tell them we need all available intelligence on human physiology, particularly their adaptation capabilities. Sir, should we proceed with conquest planning for the human homeworld? Zethkar was quiet for a long moment, studying the peaceful image of Earth still rotating in the holographic display. The contrast between that serene world and the hell planet where human children apparently went hunting for fun was deeply unsettling. No, he said finally, not yet. First, we observe. If I've learned anything in 8 centuries of conquest, it's that the most dangerous enemies are often those who appear weakest at first glance. Sir, but they're just humans. Look at them. Kreltun gestured at the anatomical display, showing human fragility. Zethkar's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Kreltun, in all your studies of galactic species, have you ever encountered a race that sends their children to play on a world that kills our elite warriors? The younger officer considered this. No, sir. In fact, most species go to great lengths to protect their young from any danger whatsoever. Exactly. So either these humans are the most negligent parents in the galaxy, or Zethkar trailed off, not wanting to voice the alternative that was beginning to form in his mind. Another transmission crackled through the speakers, this time a different voice, slightly older. Mom, we're back. Tommy caught 3 fire salamanders, and Sarah found some of those crystal formations that grow near the thermal vents. Can we go explore the underwater lava tubes tomorrow? A female voice responded, Of course, sweetheart. Just remember to take your breathing apparatus. The sulfur concentration has been higher lately near the ocean floor. Breathing apparatus. Not a full environmental suit. Not a protective shelter. Just breathing apparatus to handle sulfur concentrations that would dissolve Vorthack lung tissue in seconds. Sir, Vexera called out, I'm detecting more human settlements across the planet. The signals suggest there are thousands of them down there. Families, children, entire communities. Zethkar closed his eyes and tried to imagine the implications. A species so adaptable that they could colonize a world that served as his empire's most deadly prison. Children who treated lethal predators as pets and lava lakes as swimming holes. Begin long-range surveillance of the Sol system, he ordered quietly. I want to know everything about these humans. Their history, their expansion patterns, their conflicts. Everything. Sir, High Command is expecting a conquest timeline for Earth within a month. High Command can wait. You don't rush into battle against an enemy you don't understand. Zethkar's voice carried a warning that made his bridge crew straighten at their stations. And any species that raises children on the graveyard of gods is an enemy we definitely don't understand. As if summoned by his words, another transmission echoed across the bridge. Hey, Dad, look what I found. A young human voice filled with excitement. It's one of those big metal things that fell from the sky last month. The ones with all the weird symbols on them. Zethkar's blood turned to ice. Metal things with symbols. That could only mean one thing. Wreckage from Vorthack ships that had crashed on the planet during training exercises. There's still some of those alien guys inside, but they're not moving anymore. Can I keep the shiny parts? The transmission cut to static, but the damage was done. Human children were finding the corpses of Vorthack warriors and treating them like interesting toys. Change course for the Kepler system. Zethkar commanded, his voice deadly quiet. Maximum stealth approach. I want to see these humans with my own eyes before I decide whether we're dealing with a minor annoyance or the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever produced. As the Eternal Dominion changed course, Zethkar continued staring at the holographic display of Earth. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice whispered that he was about to discover something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. He just wasn't sure yet whether that change would favor the Vorthack Empire or spell its doom. The stealth approach to Kepler 442c took 18 days, during which Admiral Zethkar found himself unable to focus on anything except the continuous stream of human transmissions pouring in from the planet's surface. What he heard challenged everything he thought he knew about life, survival, and the natural order of the universe. Reconnaissance Team Alpha, prepare for surface deployment, Zethkar commanded as the Eternal Dominion assumed a high orbit around the Deathworld. Through the viewing screen, he could see the planet's hellish surface. Massive volcanic ranges spewing molten rock into the toxic atmosphere, acid storms that could strip flesh from bone, and lightning strikes that contained enough energy to power a small city. Lieutenant Vexera continued her monitoring duties, but her usually steady hands were trembling as she filtered through the human communications. Sir, I've been analyzing the transmission patterns. These humans have been on this planet for at least 3 years. They've established multiple settlements, and they're not just surviving, they're expanding. 3 years. Zethkar's mandibles clicked in disbelief. The longest any Vorthack expedition had lasted on 442c was 47 hours, and that was with their most advanced protective equipment. Show me the settlement locations. The main display shifted to show a tactical overlay of the planet's surface. Red dots indicated human population centers, and there were dozens of them scattered across every continent. Some are located near active volcanic zones, others beside acid lakes, and several appear to be built directly into cliff faces that regularly experience pyroclastic flows. Sir, called out Krell Tun from the tactical station, our deep scans are showing something extraordinary. The humans appear to have built extensive underground networks connecting their surface settlements. They're using the planet's thermal vents as power sources and the mineral-rich volcanic soil for agriculture. Agriculture? On this planet, Zethkar moved closer to the tactical display. What could possibly grow in that environment? I'm detecting extensive cultivation areas, sir. Whatever they're growing, it's thriving in conditions that would instantly kill most known plant species. Another human transmission interrupted their analysis. Emma, did you remember to check on the hellfire peppers this morning? Yeah, Mom. They're growing really well in the new sulfur soil mix. I think we'll have enough for the harvest festival next month. Oh, and the acid-resistant corn is sprouting faster than we expected. Zethkar stared at the speaker in stunned silence. They were farming. On a world where the soil was literally poisonous, where the rain could dissolve metal, where the very air was toxic to most life forms, these humans were growing crops and planning festivals. Sir, Reconnaissance Team Alpha is ready for deployment, reported Commander Thaxmore, the leader of Zethkar's elite scouts. The team consisted of 6 of the most experienced Vorthak warriors, each equipped with the most advanced protective gear the Empire could provide. Remember, this is pure observation, Zethkar instructed. Do not engage with the humans under any circumstances. I want to know how they're surviving down there, what their capabilities are, and most importantly, what threats they might pose to our Empire. Understood, sir. We'll maintain maximum stealth and report back within 12 hours. As the reconnaissance team departed in their heavily shielded transport, Zethkar returned his attention to the communications array. The more he listened to these humans, the more convinced he became that his initial assessment had been dangerously wrong. 2 hours later, Thaxmore's first report came through. Admiral, we've established observation positions near the largest human settlement. Sir, what we're seeing doesn't match any of our intelligence briefings. These humans they're outside, without environmental suits. Children are playing in what appears to be a garden, but the soil is glowing with radioactive minerals. Describe what you see in detail. Sir, there's a human family having what they call a picnic beside a lake of bubbling acid. The children are swimming in a thermal spring that our sensors indicate has a temperature of 89 degrees Celsius. They appear to be enjoying themselves. Zethkar felt his 3 hearts racing. The boiling point of water was 100 degrees Celsius. These children were essentially swimming in near-boiling water and treating it like a refreshing dip. Continue observation. What about their technology? Surely they're using some form of protection we're not detecting. Negative, sir. Their clothing appears to be simple fabric. No energy shields, no environmental suits, no protective gear whatsoever. Wait, sir, something's happening. Static filled the communication channel for several tense moments before Thaxmore's voice returned, noticeably shaken. Admiral, a human child just approached our position. We're in full stealth mode behind volcanic rock formations. There's no way she should be able to detect us. Maintain position and silence, Zethkar ordered, though his voice betrayed his growing concern. Sir, she's speaking to us. She says, and I quote, I know you're behind the big rocks. Are you the aliens? My dad said you might visit someday. Do you want to come meet my family? The bridge of the Eternal Dominion fell completely silent. Zethkar's hands gripped the command console so tightly his knuckles turned white. How old is this child? Our scanners indicate she's approximately 7 standard years by human measurement. Sir, she's not showing any fear. She seems curious. Another voice crackled through the communicator, older and clearly an adult human. Sarah, sweetie, are those our visitors? Invite them down for dinner. We've been expecting someone would come and check on us eventually. Zethkar's mind raced. They've been expecting visitors? How could they have known about Vorthak surveillance? Sir, Thaxmore continued, the adult is now visible. He's approaching our position with no weapons, no defensive posture. He's actually smiling. Sir, permission to maintain stealth and observe from a greater distance? Granted. Get back to a safe observation range. Sir, that's the problem. As we were retreating, the human called out, Don't worry, we understand if you're not ready to make contact yet. We'll be here when you are. Just remember, you're always welcome for dinner. Zethkar slumped into his command chair. In 8 centuries of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Species either cowered in fear when they detected Vorthak presence, or they prepared for battle. These humans were offering dinner invitations. Team Alpha, establish long-range observation and continue reporting. I want to know everything about their daily routines. Over the next few hours, the reports painted an increasingly impossible picture. Human children playing tag through fields of razor-sharp, crystalline formations that could slice through Vorthak armor. Teenagers diving into underground lava tubes for sport. Adults harvesting what they called flame fruits from trees that grew in volcanic ash. Most disturbing of all was the discovery of what the humans had done with Vorthak ship wreckage. Sir, Faxmore reported, we've located the remains of training ship Valiant that crashed here 2 years ago. The humans they've turned it into playground equipment. Children are using the hull as a slide, and they've converted the engine compartment into what appears to be a sandbox filled with phosphorescent minerals. What about the crew? The remains were given what appears to be a respectful burial, sir. There's a memorial marker with inscriptions in both human and Vorthak languages. Sir, somehow they learned to write in our language just to honor our dead. Zethkar stood and began pacing the bridge. This was beyond anything he had prepared for. These humans weren't just surviving on an impossible world. They were thriving, adapting, and showing respect for their enemies dead. Sir, there's more. We've observed human children interacting with the native wildlife. The fire salamanders that we classified as extremely dangerous predators appear to be domesticated. Children are riding them like pets. Riding them? Yes, sir. And the acid-spitting razorbirds that killed 3 of our soldiers last year? The humans have trained them to deliver messages between settlements. Each report was more unbelievable than the last. The humans had taken every deadly aspect of this world and turned it to their advantage. They'd made friends with lethal predators, turned toxic waste into fertile soil, and converted volcanic vents into efficient power sources. But the most shocking revelation came during the evening hours. Sir, we're overhearing a conversation between human adults. They're discussing expansion plans. Expansion plans? They're talking about sending colonization ships to other worlds in this system. Worlds that our environmental assessment classified as uninhabitable even for Vorthak warriors. They consider them promising locations for vacation homes. Zethkar felt the walls of his understanding of the universe crumbling around him. These humans looked at worlds that could kill his empire's finest soldiers and saw vacation destinations. Team Alpha, maintain observation through the night cycle. I want reports every hour. As the human settlement entered their rest period, Zethkar found himself staring out at the planet's surface. The acid storms had intensified, creating lightning displays that illuminated the toxic atmosphere in brilliant, deadly colors. Somewhere down there, human families were probably sleeping peacefully through natural phenomena that could destroy spacecraft. Sir, quel-t-on approche hésitante? High Command is requesting an update on the human threat assessment. Zethkar was quiet for a long moment before responding. Tell High Command that our initial assessment was incorrect. These humans are not weak. They're not even normal. There's something far more dangerous than we ever imagined. Should we recommend immediate military action? No, we need more information. If these are what human children can do, I'm terrified to find out what human soldiers are capable of. As if summoned by his words, another transmission from the planet's surface reached the ship. This time, it was an adult human voice, speaking directly into what must have been a communication device. To whoever is watching from orbit, this is Colony Director Marcus Chun. We know you're up there, and we appreciate your patience in observing us. We're not a threat to anyone who doesn't threaten us first. But if you're thinking of attacking our families or our friends back on Earth, you should know that this planet was just our training ground. Our children learned to adapt here, so that they could be ready for whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at them. We sincerely hope we can be friends instead of enemies. Good night. The transmission ended, leaving Zethkar staring at the communication console in absolute horror. Training ground. Human children weren't just surviving on this death world by accident. They were being deliberately prepared for something. The question that terrified him most was, prepared for what? Admiral Zethkar spent the night cycle reviewing every piece of intelligence his empire had gathered about humans over the past decade. What he found made his worst fears seem optimistic. Krell-Tun, pull up the file on human expansion patterns. He commanded as dawn broke over Kepler, 442C's hellish landscape. The sunrise on the death world painted the toxic clouds in shades of sulfurous yellow and blood red, creating a vista that had driven some Vorthack soldiers to madness just from viewing it on screens. Somewhere below, human children were probably watching that same sunrise and calling it beautiful. Sir, human expansion data is concerning. Krell-Tun's voice carried a tremor as he displayed the holographic map of human space. In just the past 50 years, they've established colonies on 47 worlds. What's disturbing is the pattern of worlds they choose. The map highlighted human colonies in red. Each one was located on a planet that the Galactic Council had classified as either extremely hostile or uninhabitable. Worlds with crushing gravity, toxic atmospheres, radiation levels that would kill most species, or predators that made Vorthack nightmares look tame. They're not just surviving on these worlds, Krell-Tun continued. They're transforming them. Every human colony world shows massive terraforming projects, but not to make the environment safer. They're making them more challenging. Zethkar studied the data with growing dread. Show me their homeworld again. The display shifted to Earth, and for the first time, Zethkar truly looked at it with new eyes. He'd initially dismissed it as a soft, easy world that had produced weak inhabitants. Now he realized his mistake. Environmental analysis of Earth, current data, he commanded. Sir, Earth's environmental conditions include severe tectonic instability causing frequent earthquakes, massive storms called hurricanes, and typhoons, extreme temperature variations from -40 to +50 degrees Celsius, active volcanic regions, areas of deadly radiation, and Krell-Tun paused, reading further. Sir, this can't be right. The report indicates that humans actually seek out these dangerous conditions for something they call recreation. Recreation? They deliberately climb mountains during storms, surf massive waves during hurricanes, explore active volcanoes, and participate in activities specifically designed to risk their lives. They call these activities extreme sports, and they're popular among their youth. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to form a terrifying picture. Earth wasn't a soft world that had produced weak beings. Earth was a training ground that had forged the most adaptable species in the galaxy. A new transmission from the planet's surface interrupted his thoughts. Good morning, orbital observers. This is Sarah-chan, age 8. I wanted to show you something cool we discovered yesterday. The voice belonged to the same child who had detected Thaxmore's reconnaissance team. On the main viewer, Zethkar could see a feed that the humans were apparently broadcasting directly to his ship. We found some more of your metal things that fell from the sky, and there are these neat crystal formations growing inside them. Mom says the crystals formed because your metals react with our planet's atmosphere. We've been collecting different types to make a garden. The image showed a human child standing next to what was unmistakably the wreckage of a Vorthack weapons testing drone. The crash site should have been a crater of destruction. Instead, it was covered in luminescent crystal formations that the humans had carefully cultivated into something beautiful. We also wanted to thank you for watching over us. Dad explained that you're probably making sure we're safe, which is really nice. If you want to come down and see our crystal garden, we promise we won't hurt you. We know you're not used to our planet's environment, so we prepared some special shelter areas that might be more comfortable for you. The transmission ended, but its impact on the bridge was profound. A human child was offering to protect Vorthack warriors from the very environment that was deadly to them. Sir, Vexera called from her station. I'm receiving a priority transmission from our deep space monitoring stations. It's about human activities in other sectors. Display it. The new data that appeared on the main screen made Zethkar's blood run cold. Human ships have been detected in 12 different sectors of the galaxy, all engaged in what appeared to be scientific exploration. But the destinations they were choosing told a different story. They're mapping every hostile environment they can find, Zethkar realized aloud. Every death world, every unstable system, every cosmic phenomenon that kills other species. They're cataloging them. Sir, there's more. Our intelligence network has reported unusual activities on the border worlds. Human diplomatic missions have been making contact with species that the Galactic Council considers too dangerous for normal relations. Which species? The Zerath hive mind, the plasma wraiths of Andromedas, the machine collective of Sigma Draconis, and Kreltun's voice dropped to a whisper, the Void Hunters. Zethkar's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. Each of those species was so dangerous that the Galactic Council had established quarantine zones around their territories. The Void Hunters alone had destroyed 17 civilizations before retreating to the Galactic Rim. What kind of contact? Trade agreements, sir. Cultural exchanges. The humans are offering something called Extreme Environment Consultation Services and receiving advanced technologies in return. The implications hit Zethkar like a physical blow. Humans weren't just adapting to hostile environments. They were becoming the galaxy's experts on surviving in impossible conditions. Species that no one else could safely contact were trading with humans as equals. Facts more, report from surface observation. Sir, the humans are engaging in their morning activities. What they call school appears to be taking place. I'm observing human children, approximately 6 to 12 years old, participating in activities that I can only describe as combat training. Combat training? They're navigating obstacle courses through active lava flows, competing to see who can hold their breath longest in sulfuric acid pools, and practicing what they call predator friendship with the local fire salamanders. Sir, they're treating lethal survival skills as educational games. Zethkar closed his eyes and tried to process what he was learning. Human children were receiving training that would challenge elite Vorthack special forces, and they were enjoying it. Sir, the adult humans are also engaging in activities. They're constructing what appears to be a communications array, but it's unlike any technology in our databases. Describe it. It appears to be biological in nature, sir. They're growing crystalline structures that respond to electromagnetic frequencies. The crystals are being cultivated from the same formations they harvested from our shipwreckage. A chill ran down Zethkar's spine. The humans weren't just adapting to their environment. They were adapting their environment to serve their needs. They were taking Vorthack technology and improving it using biological processes that shouldn't be possible. Another transmission from the surface provided even more disturbing information. Colony control to all stations. This is Director Chun. We've received confirmation from Earth Command. The next wave of families is scheduled to arrive in 6 months. We'll be expanding to the southern continent and establishing our first underwater settlements in the methane oceans. Confirmed colony control. New arrivals include 50 families with children ranging from infants to teenagers. Preparation teams should ensure the thermal vents are properly configured for the baby care facilities. Baby care facilities. They were bringing infants to this death world and treating it as a suitable environment for raising the most vulnerable members of their species. Sir, Vexera reported, I'm detecting massive energy buildups across the human settlements. It appears they're powering up their new communications array. Battle stations? Zethkar asked, though he suspected the answer wouldn't be that simple. No, sir. It appears to be a welcome signal. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies in hundreds of different languages. I'm detecting Vorthack, Zerath, Andorian, even some dead languages from extinct civilizations. The main viewer filled with a transmission that was clearly intended for a ship. This time, it showed an adult human male, the colony director who had spoken the previous evening. Greetings to our Vorthack observers. I'm Director Marcus Chun, and I represent the human colony on Kepler 442c. We've been monitoring your monitoring of us, and we thought it was time for a more direct conversation. The human's demeanor was calm, confident, and completely unintimidated by the fact that he was addressing the admiral of a ship that could obliterate his entire settlement with a single weapons burst. We know you're evaluating us as a potential threat to your empire, and we understand that concern. Any species that can thrive in environments like this one would naturally seem dangerous to those who can't. But we want to be clear about our intentions. Shin gestured to the landscape behind him, where human children could be seen playing in what appeared to be a garden of razor-sharp crystal formations. We don't seek conflict with anyone. Our expansion into hostile environments isn't about conquest or domination. It's about preparation. You see, Admiral Zethkar, we've been studying your empire for quite some time. The use of his name sent shock waves through the bridge. How could these humans know who he was? We know about the Vorthak Empire's expansion patterns, your military capabilities, and your conquest history. We also know about the other empires rising in this galaxy, some of which make your forces look peaceful by comparison. Chen's expression grew more serious. Humanity has a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We've been preparing our children for a galaxy that contains threats far beyond anything our species has faced before. Not because we want to fight, but because we want to survive. The transmission paused as Chun gestured to a group of human children who were apparently taming a creature that looked like a cross between a dragon and a molten rock formation. Our children learn to adapt because adaptation is humanity's greatest strength. We settle hostile worlds because those worlds teach us lessons we can't learn anywhere else. We make friends with dangerous species because we've learned that most monsters are just misunderstood. Chun looked directly into the camera, and somehow Zethkar felt like the human was staring straight into his soul. We're not your enemies, Admiral, but we're not helpless prey either. We're a species that turns death worlds into playgrounds and teaches our children to make friends with nightmares. If you choose to attack us, you'll discover that we're far more dangerous than we appear. If you choose to work with us, you'll discover that we're the best allies you could ever hope to have. The transmission ended, leaving Zethkar staring at a blank screen while his entire worldview crumbled around him. These humans had been studying his empire. They knew he was coming before he arrived, and somehow they had turned his evaluation mission into their recruitment pitch. The most terrifying part was that it was working. Admiral Zethkar stood in his private quarters, staring out at the hellscape of Kepler 442c as he composed the most difficult military report of his 800-year career. Every instinct told him to classify humans as a Class Alpha threat and recommend immediate overwhelming force. But every piece of evidence suggested that such action would be catastrophic for the Vorthak Empire. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority transmission from High Command. Zethkar straightened his uniform and activated the holographic communicator. The imposing figure of Supreme Commander Vorthak materialized before him, all forearms crossed and mandibles clicking with impatience. Admiral Zethkar, your report is overdue. High Command requires an immediate threat assessment and conquest timeline for the human species. Supreme Commander, the situation is more complex than our initial intelligence indicated. Complex? Vorthak's voice carried the cold tone that had preceded the destruction of 17 civilizations. They are a young, weak species barely capable of interstellar travel. What complexity could there possibly be? Zethkar activated his data files, transmitting the human broadcasts and reconnaissance reports to High Command. Sir, I recommend you review these files before making any strategic decisions. For several minutes, Vorthak studied the data in silence. Zethkar could see the Supreme Commander's expression shift from confidence to confusion to something approaching concern. These transmissions, they claim to show human children surviving on Kepler 442c. This must be propaganda or technological illusion. Sir, I have a reconnaissance team on the planet confirming every detail. The humans are not only surviving on 442c, they've been there for 3 years and are expanding their colonies. Impossible. Our own elite units can barely survive 6 hours on that world. That's what I thought, sir. but the evidence is undeniable. More concerning, sir, is what we've learned about their expansion patterns and adaptation capabilities. Zethkar transmitted additional files showing human colonies across hostile worlds throughout the galaxy. With each new piece of evidence, Vorthek's confidence seemed to erode further. If this intelligence is accurate, the Supreme Commander said slowly, then these humans represent a level of adaptability we've never encountered. But adaptability alone doesn't make them a military threat. Sir, with respect, I believe we need to test their capabilities before making that assumption. I request permission to conduct a limited engagement to assess their defensive responses. Vorthek's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Very well, but make it a minor probe. A single ship, minimal threat. I want to see how they react to actual hostility without committing major resources. Understood, sir. I'll dispatch the light cruiser Razorclaw to probe their defenses. After ending the transmission with High Command, Zethkar immediately contacted Captain Scarthek, commander of the Razorclaw. The captain appeared on screen, his scarred carapace testament to decades of successful conquests. Admiral, the Razorclaw is ready for whatever mission you require. Captain, you're to conduct a probe of human defenses. Approach their colony on 442C, perform aggressive scans. Maybe fire a few warning shots near their settlements. Nothing that would cause major casualties, but enough to gauge their response capabilities. Sir, against children and civilians? This seems unnecessary. Zethkar appreciated Scarthek's honorable nature, but this was larger than personal comfort. Captain, these aren't ordinary children and civilians. You'll understand once you see them. Consider this a reconnaissance in force. Probe their defenses, test their reactions, and report back immediately. 2 hours later, the Razorclaw dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler, 442C, and immediately began active scans of the human settlements. The response was not what anyone expected. Admiral, Scarthek's voice crackled through the communication array. The humans they're broadcasting to us again. Put it through the main speakers. A young voice filled the bridge, cheerful and excited. Oh wow, another spaceship. Aliens. I'm Tommy, and I'm 9 years old. Are you here to visit, or are you here to test us? Because if you're here to test us, that's totally okay. We've been practicing. The innocence in the child's voice sent chills through every warrior on both ships. Captain Scarthek's confused voice came through the communicator. Admiral, how do I respond to this? The child is asking if we're here to test them. Proceed with the defensive probe as planned, Captain. Asterisk Razorclaw asterisk to human colony. This is Captain Scarthek of the Vorthak Empire. You will submit to inspection and prepare to demonstrate your defensive capabilities. The response came immediately, but it wasn't from the child. Captain Scarthek, this is Colony Director Chun. We appreciate the formal approach. Should we activate our defensive systems to their full capability, or would you prefer a graduated demonstration? Zethkar frowned at the communication console. The humans were treating this like a scheduled exercise, not a potentially hostile encounter. Sir, Scarthek reported, they're asking what level of defensive response we'd prefer. This is highly irregular. Proceed with standard probe protocols. Fire warning shots near their primary settlement. Acknowledged. Through the tactical display, Zethkar could see the Razorclaw positioning itself for the warning shots. Energy readings spiked as the ship's light weapons charged. The warning shots lanced down toward the planet, carefully aimed to strike uninhabited areas near the human colony. They were designed to demonstrate Vorthak weapons capability without causing actual harm. The shots never reached the planet's surface. What just happened? Zethkar demanded as the tactical display showed his weapons fire simply disappearing. Sir, Scarthek's voice was tight with shock. The humans deployed some kind of energy absorption field. Our weapons' fire was completely neutralized. But, Admiral, that's not the strangest part. Explain. Sir, they're thanking us. The humans are actually thanking us for the weapons test. Another transmission from the planet confirmed Scarthek's report. Thank you for the energy donation, Captain Scarthek. Our power collection systems absorbed your weapon's fire and converted it to usable energy. Our fusion reactors are now running at 115% capacity, thanks to your contribution. Would you like to try more powerful shots? We could use the extra energy for our expansion projects. Zethkar felt his world tilting on its axis. The humans had not only defended against Vorthack weapons, they had turned the attack into a power source. Captain, increase to combat-level weapons. Target their largest structure. Sir, are you certain? That will definitely cause casualties. Do it. We need to know their limits. The Razor Claw S main weapons powered up, preparing to fire with enough force to level a city block. But before the ship could fire, new contacts appeared on the tactical display. Admiral Scarthek's voice was now filled with alarm. Multiple contacts emerging from the planet's surface. They appear to be, sir, their children. Human children in what look like personal spacecraft. Children in spacecraft? That's impossible. No species allows children to pilot military vehicles. Sir, they're not military vehicles. According to our scans, they appear to be recreational craft, and the children are piloting them through conditions that would destroy most military fighters. On the tactical display, Zethkar could see a dozen small craft rising from the planet's surface, weaving through volcanic ash clouds and lightning storms that would challenge experienced Vorthack pilots. The craft moved with impossible grace, dancing through hazards that should have destroyed them instantly. A new voice came through the communication array, clearly a human child, but speaking with surprising authority. Captain Scarthek, this is Squadron Leader Emma Chun, age 12. We've been authorized to demonstrate human defensive capabilities. Please maintain your current position while we show you what we've learned. Squadron Leader? They have 12-year-old squadron leaders. What happened next redefined Zethkar's understanding of what was possible in aerial combat. The human children didn't attack the Razor Claw. Instead, they performed maneuvers that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Their small craft moved in patterns that should have generated enough G-forces to kill any pilot, but these human children executed them effortlessly. They flew in perfect formation through lightning strikes that could power a space station. They used volcanic ash clouds as concealment, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Most incredibly, they used the planet's extreme gravity fields to accelerate their craft in ways that made them nearly impossible to track. Sir, Scarthek reported, my weapons officers can't achieve target lock on these craft. They're moving in patterns our targeting computers can't predict. And, sir, they're not using advanced technology. Our scans show these are essentially atmospheric aircraft modified for spaceflight. Modified how? They appear to be held together with materials salvaged from crashed Vorthack ships. Sir, they're using our own technology against us, but in ways we never designed it to work. The demonstration continued for 20 minutes, during which 12 human children in improvised spacecraft completely outmaneuvered one of the Vorthack Empire's most advanced warships. They never fired a shot, never made a threatening move, but they made it clear that the Razor Claw would have been defenseless against them if they chose to attack. Finally, the children returned to formation and began descending back to the planet's surface. Before they disappeared into the toxic atmosphere, Squadron Leader Emma Chun transmitted one final message. Thank you for the training exercise, Captain Scarthek. We hope you learned as much from it as we did. If you'd like to try more advanced scenarios, we can bring out the older kids. They're much better pilots than we are. The communication ended, leaving both Vorthack ships in stunned silence. Admiral, Scarthek's voice was barely a whisper. If those are their beginners, what are their advanced pilots capable of? Zethkar didn't answer immediately. He was staring at the tactical replay, watching 12 human children make fools of some of the galaxy's most experienced warriors. The implications were staggering. Captain, return to formation. We've learned what we came to learn. Sir, what exactly did we learn? Zethkar considered the question carefully before responding. We learned that every assumption we've made about human capabilities is wrong. We learned that their children can outfight our veterans. And, most importantly, we learned that attacking humanity would be the last mistake the Vorthak Empire ever makes. As the Razor Claw rejoined the Eternal Dominion, Zethkar began composing a new report for High Command. This time, he wouldn't be recommending conquest. He would be recommending alliance. Because if you can't beat 12-year-old human children in combat, you definitely don't want to find out what human adults are capable of when they're angry. 3 months after the humbling encounter with human children on Kepler 442c, Admiral Zethkar found himself in an unprecedented situation, preparing for the first official diplomatic contact between the Vorthak Empire and humanity. His recommendation for alliance had traveled through the Empire's bureaucracy like wildfire, creating shockwaves that reached the highest levels of command. The meeting was to take place on neutral ground, a space station orbiting the peaceful world of Centauri Prime. But as Zethkar's shuttle approached the human delegation, he realized that even this simple encounter would challenge his understanding of these remarkable beings. The human diplomatic vessel was unlike anything in his military databases. Rather than the sleek, aggressive designs favored by most spacefaring species, the human ship appeared to be organic in nature, with flowing curves and surfaces that seemed to shimmer with living light. "Admiral," reported his pilot, "the human vessel is growing." "Growing? Sir, it's literally expanding to accommodate our shuttle. The docking bay is reshaping itself to match our ship's configuration." Through the viewing port, Zethkar watched in fascination as the human ship's hull rippled and flowed like liquid metal, creating a perfect docking seal for his shuttle. This wasn't just advanced technology, it was technology that thought and adapted in real time. As he disembarked, Zethkar was greeted by 3 humans: an elderly man with silver hair, a middle-aged woman whose calm demeanor somehow reminded him of veteran warriors, and, most surprisingly, a teenager who couldn't be more than 16 standard years old. "Admiral Zethkar." The elderly man stepped forward with a warm smile. "I'm Ambassador Harrison Wells, representing the United Terran Council. This is Dr. Sarah Martinez, our xenobiological specialist, and this is Alex Chun." Zethkar recognized the surname immediately. Chun, related to the colony director on 442c. The teenager grinned. "He's my uncle. I grew up on Kepler 442c until I was 14. Now I'm studying at the Advanced Adaptation Institute on Europa." "Advanced Adaptation Institute?" Dr. Martinez answered. "It's where we train our children for contact with alien environments and species. Alex here is one of our youngest graduates. She's qualified for diplomatic contact with species across 17 different environmental classifications." Zethkar stared at the teenage girl, who spoke of qualifications that would challenge his most experienced officers. "What exactly does that training involve?" Alex's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "Oh, it's amazing. We learned biological adaptation techniques, environmental integration protocols, cultural assimilation strategies, and defensive capabilities for about 300 different hostile environments. Plus, we study the psychology and biology of 47 different sapient species." "You study Vorthak psychology?" "Of course. Your species' honor-based command structure, territorial expansion patterns, and adaptive stress responses were some of my favorite subjects. That's actually why I requested to be on this diplomatic team." Ambassador Wells gestured toward a conference room whose walls seemed to be made of the same living material as the ship's hull. "Shall we begin our discussions? I believe you'll find our proposal quite interesting." As they seated themselves around a table that adjusted its surface to accommodate different species' physiological needs, Zethkar found his attention divided between the remarkable technology and the even more remarkable humans who wielded it. "Admiral," Ambassador Wells began, "we understand that your empire has concerns about human expansion and capabilities. We'd like to address those concerns directly." "I appreciate that, Ambassador. But I must ask, how long have you been monitoring Vorthak activities?" Dr. Martinez answered with a slight smile. "About 40 years. We've been aware of your empire since our first deep space exploration missions. We've also been monitoring 17 other spacefaring civilizations, including some you haven't encountered yet." 17 others? The galaxy is more crowded than most species realize, Alex interjected. There are civilizations out there that make the Vorthak Empire look like peaceful explorers. We've been preparing for eventual contact with all of them. Zitkarst Mandibes klicked nervously. Preparing how? Ambassador Wells activated a holographic display that showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red zones indicated known hostile civilizations. Yellow zones showed neutral or unknown species, and blue zones marked human-influenced areas. Admiral, humanity doesn't seek to conquer or dominate. We seek to adapt and survive. Our expansion into hostile environments serves multiple purposes. It trains our children for any challenge they might face, it provides research opportunities for developing new technologies, and it positions us strategically for the conflicts we know are coming. What conflicts? The holographic display zoomed in on the galactic rim, revealing massive energy signatures moving through the void between galaxies. Long-range telescopic arrays have detected several extragalactic civilizations heading toward our galaxy. Our best estimates suggest first contact within 50 to 70 years. Some of these civilizations appear to be fleeing from something even more dangerous, while others seem to be pursuing conquest on a scale that dwarfs current galactic conflicts. Zethkar studied the display with growing alarm. The energy signatures were enormous, suggesting fleets or entities far larger than anything currently known. What are you proposing? Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Admiral, your empire has 800 years of military experience and organizational expertise. Humanity has adaptation capabilities and technological innovation that could benefit both our species. We're proposing a formal alliance. What kind of alliance? Alex pulled up another holographic display showing human colonies across the galaxy. We want to establish joint settlements on worlds that are currently unusable to your people. Human colonists would handle the environmental adaptation and resource development, while Vorthak military expertise would provide protection and strategic coordination. You want us to protect you while you colonize Deathworlds? Ambassador Wells chuckled. Actually, Admiral, we're hoping you'll let us protect you. Human colonies on hostile worlds could serve as forward bases for Vorthak operations. Our children could serve as scouts and guides in environments that challenge your warriors. And our adaptation technologies could enhance Vorthak survival capabilities across a wide range of conditions. The proposal was astounding. These humans weren't asking for protection. They were offering to turn themselves into an early warning system and defensive network for the Vorthak Empire. What would humanity gain from such an arrangement? Access to Vorthak military doctrine, weapons technology, and, most importantly, 8 centuries of experience in galactic politics and warfare, Dr. Martinez replied. We're excellent at adaptation and innovation, but we're still relatively new to large-scale conflict management. Alex added, plus, working with the Vorthak Empire would give us access to worlds and challenges we haven't encountered yet. My generation of humans is always looking for new environments to master. Zethkar was quiet for several minutes, considering the implications. The offer was generous, perhaps too generous. Why would you make such an offer to a species that was considering conquering you? Ambassador Wells' expression grew more serious. Because, Admiral, we've studied Vorthak history extensively. Your empire expands, but you don't exterminate. You conquer, but you don't genocide. You're warriors, but you're honorable warriors. Among the various galactic powers, the Vorthak Empire represents the best possible ally for humanity's long-term survival. And if we had chosen conquest instead of alliance, Alex answered with disturbing casualness, then you would have discovered that the colonies you observed represent less than 1% of human defensive capabilities. Kepler 442c isn't our most advanced training facility, Admiral. It's our kindergarten. The words hit Zethkar like a physical blow. Everything he'd witnessed, children outflying veteran pilots, settlements thriving on death worlds, technology that defied understanding, had been their entry-level capabilities. What exactly are your advanced capabilities? Dr. Martinez smiled. Perhaps that's a conversation for after we formalize our alliance. But I will say this. Humanity has contingency plans for scenarios that most species consider impossible. We've learned that in a hostile galaxy, it's better to be overprepared than extinct. Ambassador Wells reactivated the galactic display. Admiral, we're facing challenges that no single species can handle alone. The extragalactic civilizations approaching our galaxy have already consumed 3 neighboring galaxies. The Void Hunters you're familiar with are actually refugees from one of those consumed regions. Even the most dangerous species in our galaxy are unified in their terror of what's coming. And you believe an alliance between humans and Vorthak could make a difference. We believe an alliance between humans and Vorthak could save both our civilizations, Alex said quietly. Your military expertise, combined with our adaptation capabilities, could create something new. Something capable of not just surviving what's coming, but protecting others as well. Zethkar stood and walked to the viewing port, staring out at the stars. In the distance, he could see human ships moving in formation with impossible grace, their living hulls adapting to stellar radiation in real time. What are your terms? Ambassador Wells joined him at the viewing port. Full military alliance with shared command structure for joint operations. Technology exchange programs with appropriate safeguards. Joint colonies established on strategically important worlds regardless of environmental hostility. And, most importantly, a mutual defense pact that extends to protecting other species who choose to join our alliance. Other species? Admiral, we're not the only ones who've been watching the galactic situation develop. There are others who understand what's coming and want to be prepared. The more allies we have, the better our chances of survival. Zethkar turned back to face the human delegation, a teenage girl who'd grown up on a world that killed his elite warriors, a scientist who spoke of impossible technologies as everyday tools, an ambassador who offered alliance to a species that had been planning their conquest. I accept your proposal, he said formally. On behalf of the Vorthak Empire, I agree to a full alliance between our species. Alex grinned. Awesome. Wait until you see what we can accomplish together. The first joint colony we're planning is on a world orbiting a binary pulsar. The radiation environment should be perfect for testing some new defensive technologies we've been developing. As if to emphasize her point, the living walls of the conference room suddenly displayed a real-time view of human children playing in the coronas of solar flares. Their environmental suits apparently powered by the very radiation that would kill most species instantly. Zethkar realized that in trying to evaluate humanity as a threat, he'd completely missed the point. They weren't a threat to be conquered or an ally to be protected. They were evolution's answer to an impossible galaxy, and they were offering to share that answer with anyone wise enough to accept it. 6 months later, the first joint human Vorthak colony was established on Infernus Prime, a world of liquid metal seas and plasma storms. The colonists were a mix of human families and Vorthak military units, working together to turn an impossible environment into humanity's newest training ground and the Vorthak Empire's most advanced forward base. The children of both species played together in the plasma fountains, and their laughter echoed across a galaxy that was finally beginning to understand what it meant to have humans as friends rather than enemies. And in the deep void between galaxies, ancient threats continued their approach, unaware that the galaxy they sought to consume had found its guardians in the most unlikely alliance imaginable. Warriors who conquered worlds, and children who made friends with nightmares.